Hello and welcome to GameSack. This time around we're talking about spin-offs of popular franchises.
Yeah, a lot of those franchises had some great games and they've gotten these spin-offs, as Joe mentioned, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at those. But first we're going to show you what the original series is, just to remind you if you don't know what it is, which I would find that hard to believe because these are pretty popular games.
And some of these are really, really bad spin-offs. I mean, oh my god. But some of them are good.
So stick with us.
This is Eternal Champions on the Sega Genesis, Sega of America's answer to the Street Fighter II craze. With a few exceptions, I've disliked a lot of the stuff that Sega of America has put out themselves because it can best be described as mediocre or even generic. And in my personal opinion, Eternal Champions here is not one of those exceptions. It's a very ambitious but ultimately poorly designed fighting game that I could just never get into at all. The controls are very frustrating to me and I feel that my attacks are almost always blocked. It's also kind of ugly looking and, yeah, ugly sounding. I mean, I, of all people, shouldn't be talking, but it is what it is. Sega really wanted Eternal Champions to be a thing, so they completely remade it for the Sega CD. This one improves on things, however, the gameplay certainly doesn't seem to be one of those aspects. Again, all opponent attacks seem unblockable while pretty much all of your attacks are blocked. So for me, playing this one is pure misery, just like the first one. It could be because I'm playing a Shadow, but there's a reason for that which I'll get to in just a few seconds. The best thing this game has going for it are the hyper-violent overkills that are specific to each stage. In fact, really, that's the only thing this game has going for it. Both the graphics and music have improved, but they're not amazing. The overkills are pretty funny though. However, the spin-off called Experts, which came out on the Genesis in 1996, makes both of those games look like glorious works of art. Because of the title, I always thought this one was a spin-off of the X-Men, but of course not, it's Eternal Champions, duh. You play as an elite team called Experts who work for an organization called Janus. Shadow is on the team, and that's why I was using her for the Eternal Champions footage. She's represented here in full SGI Donkey Kong Country glory. Only much, much worse. And she's not alone. She has two unremarkable friends who are also in her unit. You control all three characters and switch between them at any time by using a convoluted menu screen. Your mission in this bland machine factory place has several objectives that you'll need to complete. The basic gist of the gameplay is just to walk around a level and be bored. Oh, and fight computer-rendered bad guys. There are lots of terminals and stuff in the background, and you should stop at each of these and fiddle with them just in case they do something. You really never know until you try. And sometimes it takes a very, very, very long time. I guess you're supposed to feel tense as maybe an enemy might approach while you're working, but nope, only boredom. Meanwhile, your other two friends are dealing with their own mundane situations in real time, mainly getting into fights with enemies and losing health. You'll hear all of this announced by a bored lady as it happens.
Warning to shield in combat.
You can switch to them if you want and help them out, but usually they take care of themselves. The menu screen will tell you what your objectives are, but it's not as informative as it could be. Go to level 6 and reroute the extra power couplers to boost the signal. Basically, that just means go to level 6 and fiddle with stuff on the wall. I fiddled with everything on level 6, east and west, and as far as I can tell, nothing happened. It's so exciting. You need to work your way to an elevator or lift to get where you need to go. Sometimes you'll have to use one character to do something so that another character can gain access to whatever they need to do, and it's all very unclear. And you'll be under constant attack from the enemy. Each of them are slow and dumb, but then again, so are you. The control is really stiff, and the game feels like a chore. The sound is awful, with usually only a constant tone, and that's it. And the graphics are every bit as bland as that. On the plus side, the voices are really high quality.
Warning, Zack in combat.
Word is that even the game's producer hated it, but Sega insisted that it be released. When it comes down to it, this is probably one of the worst games on the Genesis and an embarrassment for any Sega fan. Yeah, it's a real kick in the Janus.
Report combat complete.
As you might remember from our last episode about the MSX, I talked about Metal Gear. I said that it was generally a fun game, but I never liked the fact that the gameplay is based around sneaking through the levels trying not to be detected by anyone. 2 weeks later, I still stand by that. I've played most of the Metal Gear games, but I've only beaten Metal Gear Solid on the PlayStation and Part 4 on the PS3. All the others that I've tried, I just kind of get bored and end up just not playing them. I know a lot of you love this series and I'm fine with that, but personally I just need a game with more straight up action. Luckily Kojima listened to my silent complaints because after a few development issues he let Platinum Games make a spin-off title that was more to my liking called Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance for the PS3, Xbox 360 and PC. As you can guess, I'm on the PS3 here. Firstly, I've got to know, what is it with these made-up words in Metal Gear titles? You know what I'm talking about, revengeance and subsistence. They make no sense. Let's take the words revenge and vengeance and combine them into one really cool word, revengeance. People will think we're edgy. Well, I don't, but I do like your game. Metal Gear Rising is a straight-up hack-and-slash game. I mean, if you really want to, you can be a little stealthy, but not me. I'm going straight at the enemies, the way it should be. You play as Raiden. Remember Raiden from Metal Gear Solid 2? His weapon of choice is his high-frequency blade. It's apparently made out of some sort of alien technology because it never dulls, even after you slash apart enemies that are all metal. He also has sub-weapons like grenades and homing missiles. It's the usual game formula where you fight a bunch of enemies and then move on to the next area and fight some more. You think it would be mind-numbing, but the action is intense thanks to the parry system and lots of flashy graphics. It's vital that you learn the parry system if you want to get anywhere in this game. The thing is that parrying is very hard to do. When your enemy attacks you, at the last second you must push the analog stick in the direction that the attack is coming from and hit the square button at the same time. It sounds easy enough, but you only have a split second to decide which direction the attack is coming from, which can be hard. See this stupid cat with the chainsaw on his back? I fought this stupid thing about 20 times trying to learn the parry system. I died and then I died some more until I got the hang of it, and you know what? I still feel that I don't have it down pat. There's other things that you can do which are just stylized additions to make the action look cool. You can go into blade mode, which slows everything down, allowing you to chop up your enemies and steal body parts. There's also a ninja run that you can perform anytime. This cool looking thing lets Raiden run over and around objects like he's some sort of parkour champion. It's really fun to do and you'll be doing a lot of it, especially since you can attack while doing it. There's a lot of cool systems in this title that add a lot of depth to the game without making it feel convoluted. The only thing that does feel convoluted are the cutscenes. Just like any Metal Gear game, there's at least as much cutscenes as there are action sequences. I enjoy them, but sometimes I just have to skip them because they take too long. If you're looking for a good spin-off of Metal Gear, this is a great game to play.
Persona is itself a spin-off of the Shin Megami Tensei series. And that's a spin-off of Megami Tensei, which is a spin-off of the Digital Devil Saga novels. Anyway, this is the PSP version of the first Persona game here. It was originally on the PlayStation, but this version is rebalanced and adds some content. The Persona games have you playing as high schoolers caught up in some supernatural shenanigans. Say that 10 times fast, or don't. It plays as an RPG, complete with battles and most other things that you'd expect. Personas can be used as battle moves, which are individualized to each character. They'll also level up the more you use them independently of you. And of course, who wouldn't love the first-person Phantasy Star-style dungeons? Well, they're not actually dungeons since the game more or less takes place in the real world, or a version of it, but yeah, you know what I mean. Persona is also known for its quirky visual style and equally quirky but good music. Persona kept growing with the likes of Persona 4 Golden, which you can only get on the Vita. In this one, you're a group of teenagers who find a bizarre world inside of a TV in a store. This time around, you have a crap ton of voiced dialogue, which is either good or bad depending on your tastes. And of course, battles where you can summon your personas to help you. But why play an extremely verbose RPG when you can play an extremely verbose fighting game instead? That's right, Persona 4 Arena on the PlayStation 3 here is a spin-off that I want to talk about, and it came out first in the arcades. It's a spin-off of Persona 4 specifically and takes place a year after the events of Persona 4 proper. You can play the story mode where you can choose one of 4 characters until you can unlock more. This presents itself as a visual novel with lots and 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 lots of text. It's pretty cool except for one thing. It needs more text. All is not what it seems and friends become foes, or at least they think they do. After about 8 gigabytes of text, you'll eventually get to the one-on-one fighting matches, which are 2D and consist of 1 round each. Win that, then you get to move on and read more of the story, saving bookmarks along the way. Eventually, another fight will pop up, and if you like visual novels, then you'll like this portion of the game. Well, you might hate the fighting part because, you actually have to do something, but you'll like the reading part. For me, though, the meat of the game is in the arcade mode. Here, you get to select from 13 different characters from Persona 3 and 4. Most characters here also have a story, but it's not walls of text. Instead, it's like the bare-bones story that you'd find in pretty much any fighting game, and that's totally fine. As I said, it's a 2D fighting game and it's hand-drawn by the fine people at Arc System Works, so it looks like a Guilty Gear game, which of course means it looks amazing. The backgrounds are made up of 3D polygons and look pretty good themselves. Sometimes the visuals can get really crowded and convoluted, but it really only adds to the intensity of the game. I really enjoy this one. It works well even with a standard PS3 controller and all the moves are fun to do. You have a couple of normal attacks and of course you can call forth some different personas to help you out. You can't spam the personas though, as they can only be used a few times before they need to rest for a bit. And be careful, because if your enemy successfully attacks your persona, you'll lose one of the blue cards under your life bar, and you only have 4 cards per match. What's intriguing is that sometimes you can even poison enemies or whatnot. Yeah, a fighting game with RPG-like status effects. Kinda cool. You also have a dash button, which I like to use to zip around a lot. It's really fun to do. Everything feels very responsive, and this is one of the more addictive fighting games that I've played in a while. And not only is the game verbose with the text in the story mode, but with the voices during any match as well. Both characters have lots to say as they're fighting, and if that's not enough, you've got an announcer talking over everyone. The music is fantastic and quirky, just like you'd expect, with remixes of some familiar Persona themes. It really adds to the fun of beating up your friends. If you like 2D fighting games and Persona, then this should be a no-brainer for you. I even recommend it for people who aren't fans or don't care about the Persona universe. Oh, by the way, it's also on the Xbox 360.
Looks like an opportunity's come up. Ooh, an awakening! Will this turn the tables? What a devastating blow! Alright, time to move on.
Alright, so far so good, and yeah, I know you like the Persona series, and I'm glad to hear you like that fighting game.
Oh yeah, I definitely recommend that.
Yeah, and as for me, the Metal Gear Rising, I really like that game.
Rising Revengeance.
Oh yeah, how could I forget
Christ.
the amalgamation of Revenge and Vengeance. Good old Konami.
Yeah.
Anyways, we've got some more games to show you, so just keep watching. Sega's House of the Dead series of light gun games has always had a special place in my collection. All you gotta do is hook up your favorite light gun, insert the disc, and get ready to kill all sorts of undead creatures. All this while enjoying some of the worst voice acting known to man.
How could anyone do this?
Sega sure didn't splurge on actors during development, that's for sure.
He's the head one of the most eminent financial group and an expert on the genome theory.
The action is always fast, and your arms will quickly get tired holding up the light gun, but you know what? It's a good tire. Just like any decent company will do, Sega decided to make some spin-offs hoping to get more money out of the House of the Dead name. Okay, let's get the garbage out of the way, and then we'll go to a few good titles. Zombie Revenge on the Dreamcast was the first spin-off. This is a beat-em-up of sorts that pretty much fails in everything it tries. I say beat-em-up, but you do have guns that you use the majority of the time. However, if you get sick of those, or a zombie gets a little too close for comfort, you can always just start punching them. The gameplay is super slow and just overall very boring. Your goal is to clear each area of enemies so you can advance. It becomes almost chore-like killing everything and watching their life bars slowly drain. You'll wish before long that you could just move on to the next area and hope the action gets better. But unfortunately it doesn't. The best part about this game is the horrible voice acting. It just makes you laugh.
It's coming out.
Here, take this! A man with golden eyes said to give it to you.
If you're gonna get a spin-off of House of the Dead, make sure this isn't it.
Antidote. Antidote. Antidote.
Bullets. Maybe you should opt for a much more fun title like Typing of the Dead shown here on the Dreamcast. Who knew that educational software could be so fun? All this title is House of the Dead 2 revamped as a typing simulator. It sounds boring as hell, but damn is it fun. Firstly, I love that your character has a Dreamcast strapped to his back with a huge battery and keyboard mounted on his chest. As you play, zombies and whatnot will attack you, and to kill them you have to type the words or phrases that are above their head. You've got to be quick, as after a few seconds they come at you. Even the boss fights are really fun, and you have to type out longer words or even answer questions by typing out the answers. The cool thing is that the game has a humongous vocabulary, so you won't often see the same words popping up on screen. I've never been an amazing typist, but I guarantee that this title has helped me become a better one. If you can, get your hands on a keyboard for your Dreamcast and get this game, it's really fun. Or you can get it on your PC, for which you already have a keyboard. Not to be overlooked is a Game Boy Advance game called Pinball of the Dead. I was beyond happy when this game came out since it combined two of my favorite things, House of the Dead and Pinball. The game is equipped with 3 different tables and it's hard to pick the best one since each one is very entertaining. They're all based around different ideas from the light gun games. You'll see all your favorite undead creatures and even some of your favorite bosses here. Just like a good pinball game, there's many modifiers to go for. Lots of these will trigger events on the tables like huge zombie heads popping up in the middle of the board. As far as physics go, Sega did their homework. The balls and flippers all react very realistically, and making difficult shots is doable, unlike other pinball games that have sloppy physics. While there's no bad acting in this game, you are at least treated to an amazing soundtrack with music from the series. If you haven't played this game, then I feel sorry for you. It truly is a, dare I say it, hidden gem for the system.
A hidden gem? Yeah, I think I smell a road trip. The Ninja Gaiden games have all been well received. Of course, for this episode, I'm talking about the more modern 3D ones. These were often hard as balls. The original on the OG Xbox was popular enough to get a remastered version on the console called Ninja Gaiden Black, which is better in a lot of ways. And of course, the Xbox 360 got Ninja Gaiden 2 and 3, which, some say, aren't as good, but I feel they're still great games, especially Part 2. Even the PS3 and the Wii U got their own versions of some of these Ninja Gaiden games that were great in their own right. These all provided high-caliber ninja action, and often crushing difficulty. But no matter what, they were well-designed games and, for the most part, lots of fun. And that leads us to Yaiba Ninja Gaiden Z on the PlayStation 3. It also exists for the Xbox 360 and the PC. This has got to be great, right? I mean, the back of the box proclaims, one ninja, tons of zombies, massive chaos, un ninja cyborg, des tonnes de zombies, un chaos total. Yeah, this game is gonna rock! Okay, it doesn't. Holy crap, is this game bad. What's funny is that it starts out seeming like it might be good. You play as Yaiba, who ends up getting killed right away by the main series protagonist Ryu Hayabusa. But you've been reassembled and now you're on a quest to kill Hayabusa himself. But before that, you've got to kill zombies. Lots and lots of Russian zombies. When you first start playing, you'll feel some smooth controls and look at some nice looking cel-shaded graphics that look like a comic book in motion. But sadly, this is a fleeting hope. You can't control the camera at all, your range of movement is extremely limited, and honestly, it's just not very fun to fight as Yaiba. He has plenty of moves, it's just that a lot of them are too convoluted for their own good. There's also a system where you can upgrade yourself by spending points, and I don't really want any of these so-called upgrades. None of them seem exciting. The game offers a decent challenge, but it's not fun enough to want to continue trying. The nice visuals that I mentioned before also make sure that you get lost in a sea of enemies. I often couldn't find myself for several seconds at a time because my character just doesn't stand out from anything. The jumping around seems fun at first until you realize that you're not controlling it at all. It's just basically pressing a button at the right time to jump to the next flashing marker. It's clear that they spent a lot of time making this one, but sadly they just didn't spend much time thinking about if it was actually fun. There are 2 good things about this one though, and that's that you can get a ton of trophies very easily and that it's extremely cheap. I picked it up brand new for like $4 at Best Buy. I didn't even know what it was at the time. But it's certainly not worthy of the Ninja Gaiden name. Sonic the Hedgehog made his transition to 3D with Sonic Adventure, shown here on the Sega Dreamcast. These were cool games for their time, especially the opening stages with their catchy music. These left a great impression that made you think the whole game would be great. I never really bought into it, but Sonic Adventure 2 let you play several stages as Shadow the Hedgehog who glided his way towards the goal. It was interesting to play as him, and at the time he was a nice contrast to Sonic. Well, Shadow the Hedgehog got his very own spin-off game in 2005 on the various consoles, and this is the Xbox version. For whatever reason, Shadow has lost his memories and he's being coaxed by a bad guy to get the Chaos Emeralds for him. But Shadow, he has his own agenda. Of course, unlike Sonic, Shadow is mean and super serious. You don't front with him or he'll pull his Glock on you. That's right, guns in a Sonic game. Rat-a-tat-tat, you don't want that. First of all, the control sucks. Because he's an idiot, Shadow skates instead of runs, and I never cared for that in Sonic Adventure 2. And they sure didn't improve upon it here, it just doesn't make for good gameplay. He has a similar air homing attack as Sonic. He can also grab items and throw them to get certain guns or other weapons that are stored in crates. Of course, you've got your usual loops, speed boosting platforms, and grindy rails, but overall it's slower than an average Sonic game. Another thing that's really bad is the camera. Sometimes you can't really tell what's going on at all. You can control the camera with the right thumbstick, but it's a small consolation. And it didn't take long at all for this game to make me motion sick, maybe about half an hour. The graphics are unremarkable and often quite dark. The music seems okay, but not memorable or even very noticeable. And the gameplay is just boring. Did the world really need an edgy version of Sonic the Hedgehog? Sega sure as hell thought so. And as we all know, Sega isn't exactly a world champion when it comes to thinking. Hey, it pains me to say that, but, you know, it's true.
Hey, try getting on board one of those flying saucers. Use the B button to get up. Yahoo! Whoosh! Try not to crash, okay? This thing is way too fun. Hey, there was another fork in the river further back.
Tomb Raider has overall been a decent series of video games. I really enjoyed the first two titles, especially the first game. That one was special for me because it was a brand new series. For the time, the graphics were fresh, the story was intriguing, and the gameplay was unlike anything else. After that, the games were hit and miss until 2013 when the reimagined Tomb Raider was released. My love for Lara Croft was rekindled as this was an amazing game. Yes, I did call her Laura, and you can be as offended about it as you like, just like the previous time I called her Laura. Before you go get your panties all twisted up, just watch the trailer for the movie Tomb Raider and listen carefully.
Laura.
Anyway, the game was amazing, and I loved it so much that I bought an Xbox One early because the sequel had a 1-year exclusivity for the game. I kinda regret that now, as my Xbox gets no playtime. So there were a couple of spin-off games starring that crazy Tomb Raider. The first is Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light, but I'm not going to talk about that one since I don't own it. I will, however, talk a bit about Lara Croft and the Temple of Osiris since I do own a physical copy of the game on the PS4. This is a really cool spin-off as it's an action-adventure game set in an isometric point of view. Typically, I'm not a fan of this view style, but it really works well here. This is a multiplayer game that has you searching different tombs for parts of Osiris's body. Once you get all of his pieces, you'll bring him back to life to help you defeat the evil Set who killed him in the first place. Yes, Set is his name. I didn't make it up. The ancient Egyptians did. Once again, an intriguing story that I can really get into since it's all right there and easy to understand. To help Laura out, she has her dual pistols that still have unlimited ammo. These are solid and will kill lots of the undead and scarabs. But if you want to really have some good firepower, then don't worry, as you can pick up other weapons like a machine gun or a shotgun. You also have a staff that can kill enemies, along with opening some doors and activating platforms. Most of the buttons on the PS4 controller are used, but it's not hard to remember what does what. And of course, what good Tomb Raider would leave home without bombs? These are good for uncovering hidden gems in the ground and also killing enemies. Not that kind of hidden gem, you jerk! The tombs are all richly detailed and look very nice. For example, I like how some of the backgrounds are blurry as you're making your way around a tomb. It makes you focus on where you're at, but also wondering when you'll be in that blurry spot back there. There's even some nice lighting effects here and there which I like. There's lots of stuff to find, and Laura doesn't hesitate breaking open ancient vases to take a peek inside. That's right, Laura, the really valuable stuff is inside those 2,300-year-old vases, so go ahead and shoot them up. Well, there's typically gems inside those vases which are valuable, no doubt. You'll need those to open treasure chests, which will give you the real artifacts, which can be common or, if you're lucky, uncommon, and probably worth a lot of scratch. Osiris was broken up into 10 chunks, so that means you have 10 tombs to play through before you find all his pieces. That's good, because this is one experience that I don't want to end too quickly. Good graphics, great gameplay, and an amazing soundtrack make for an incredible game. Don't pass this one up.
Not exactly the guidance I'd hope for.
All right, there you go. Those are some spin-offs for you. And Jesus Christ, Dave, what is with you and Laura Croft? You stupid Americans can't even pronounce Lara.
I mean, really.
God,
Hey,
I hate your country.
I know, but you live here and you're an American, so maybe you should move to Britain if you like Lara. Anyway.
I just know how to pronounce things.
Yeah, exactly. Oh well. I'm glad
I hate you.
Okay, well, feelings mutual. Just kidding, we're best friends.
Yeah. Anyway, what are some spin-offs that you'd recommend we check out? What are some of your favorites, least favorites? Let us know. In the meantime, thank you for watching GameSack.
Joe, what's going on, man?
Not much, Dave.
Hey, you know, I was thinking that, you know, since I've stolen like 35 of your snatchers,
37, actually.
well, I kind of feel bad about that, and I was just wondering, I'd like to just give you this because of that, and it's important to me, okay? And don't go selling that because it's valuable, all right? See ya.
What the flipping hell is this? Is that the crowd from John Madden Football? Ugh. Well, that was fairly horrible. I'd rather play Snatcher anyway. What? Damn it, he took it again. Dave, I will get you for this someday.